The Unraveling.
June 30th, 1991. A quiet Sunday morning in BF Homes. To the outside world, the house on Vizcondes streets seemed peaceful, but inside, a silence hung heavy, a silence that would scream for justice for the next 20 years. This isn't just a story about a crime. It is a story about a 4-year manhunt, a 15-year trial, and a verdict that divided a nation. It involves power, politics, and a witness who came from the shadows. For Loro Vizconde, working overseas to provide for his family, the news was a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. His wife, Estrelita. His daughters, Carmela and Jennifer. Gone. Who destroyed this family? And more importantly, did the Philippines put the wrong men in prison? The investigation was intense, but chaotic. The crime scene was a picture of unimaginable horror, but the initial investigation was riddled with missteps. The Paranak police were on the scene first, but were quickly superseded by the NBI, creating early jurisdictional friction. Pressure from the public and media was immense. Every newspaper and television station ran sensational headlines. The nation was watching, demanding swift justice for the prominent family. At first, the police pointed to the Akyat Bahay gang. Suspects were arrested, confessions were signed. It seemed case closed, but the court smelled a frame-up. The details didn't add up. The Akyat Bahay gang was discharged. The identities of the real perpetrators remained a mystery. The public was hungry for answers, and the pressure on the National Bureau of Investigation, the NBI, was mounting. 4 years passed. The trail went cold. The Vizconde Massacre became a symbol of unsolved injustice until 1995. The NBI announced a breakthrough. They didn't just have a lead, they had an eyewitness. Her story was a bombshell. But it wasn't her first. Alfaro had previously given a different statement, implicating other individuals. This crucial detail was initially overlooked by the NBI, who were desperate for a breakthrough. She was placed under the Witness Protection Program, given a new identity and financial support. To the NBI, she was the key. To the defense, she was a coached liar, motivated by personal gain. And to Jessica Alfaro, she wasn't an ordinary citizen. She was an NBI Aseta stool pigeon who lived in the world of drugs and crime. She claimed she was there that night. Alfaro spun a detailed tale. She claimed she was at the Ayala Alabang Commercial Center on the night of June 29, 1991. There, she met a group of young men from prominent families. She named them Hubert Webb, son of a senator, Antonio Tony Boylejano, Michael Gachalianan, Hospicio, Fernandez, Peter Estrada, Miguel Rodriguez. Names that shocked the public. According to Alfaro, the group went to the Vizconde home. She claimed Hubert Webb had a message for Carmela. She described a drug-fueled night that spiraled into a horrific plan. Webb allegedly said, "Pipilahan natin siya, we will line up for her." The defense presented an overwhelming amount of evidence. Photos of Webb at a party in the US on the night of the crime, video recordings of him in California, and testimony from US-based friends and family. The prosecution's theory of a secret return flight was a stretch. It required a conspiracy involving airline personnel, immigration officers on 2 continents, and a complete lack of any paper or digital trail. It was a narrative that defied logic. But in the court of public opinion, the trial was a media circus. The prosecution relied heavily on Alfaro's testimony. The court found her credible, describing her story as categorical and straightforward. But the defense fought back hard. Hubert Webb presented what looked like the perfect alibi. He claimed he wasn't even in the Philippines. He said he was thousands of miles away, in the United States. Webb produced a mountain of evidence, a passport stamped March 9, 1991, U.S. immigration records confirming his entry, receipts for a bike and a car bought in California. He had 95 witnesses. But the lower courts didn't believe him. They questioned the validity of the documents. They theorized he could have slipped back into the Philippines secretly, committed the crime, and slipped back out. The loss of the DNA evidence was a national scandal. How could the most crucial piece of physical evidence in the country's most high-profile case simply vanish? The NBI's explanation was that the specimen was sent to the US for testing in 1996, but was never returned. It was a catastrophic failure of the justice system. In their final ruling, the Supreme Court justices were scathing in their assessment of Alfaro's testimony, calling it a tale of lies and inconsistencies. They methodically dismantled her claims, pointing out how her story changed over time and how it was contradicted by the physical evidence. In January 2000, the gavel fell. Guilty. Reclusion perpetua. Life imprisonment. The rich kids were sent to Bilibid. But the story didn't end there. Years passed. The accused appealed to the Court of Appeals, then to the Supreme Court. In 2010, technology offered a new hope. DNA testing. Semen had been found on Carmela Vizconde's body. If the DNA didn't match Webb, he was innocent. Simple science. The Supreme Court granted the request for testing, but then, a crushing blow. The NBI informed the court they no longer had the specimen. It was lost. The one thing that could prove guilt or innocence, beyond a shadow of a doubt, was gone. Without the DNA, the Supreme Court had to look at the evidence again, and this time they looked closer at Jessica Alfaro. Was she telling the truth? The court found her story inherently incredible. She claimed Webb threw a stone at the glass door after the Crema Bizarre act that would alert neighbors. She claimed they darkened the garage light, yet said the kitchen door was left open for them. And the alibi. The Supreme Court ruled that it was impossible to ignore him. To believe Webb was guilty, you had to believe he bypassed the immigration systems of two countries multiple times without a trace. The court called this pure speculation. December 14th, 2010. The Supreme Court ruled the prosecution failed to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. Hubert Webb and his co-accused were acquitted and ordered released immediately. For the accused, it was the end of 15 years of incarceration. For Laura Vizconde, it was a reopening of old wounds. The question returned to where it started in 1991. If it wasn't them, ding, who? The Vizconde Massacre remains a tragedy of justice, a puzzle with missing pieces, and a crime that continues to haunt the nation.